Hulk is a 2003 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. The film was directed by Ang Lee and written by John Turman, James Schamus, and Michael France. Eric Bana stars as Bruce Banner in Hulk, alongside Jennifer Connelly, Sam Elliott, Josh Lucas, and Nick Nolte. The film explores Bruce Banner's origins. After a lab accident involving gamma radiation, he transforms into a giant green-skinned humanoid with superhuman strength, known as the Hulk, whenever stressed or emotionally provoked. The United States military pursues him, and he clashes with his biological father. Welcome back to Marvel Movie Rewind, where we look back at every live-action Marvel movie. Today we are discussing Hulk from 2003. Before this movie, Hulk appeared in the 1977 to 1982 live-action television series, The Incredible Hulk, which lasted for 80 episodes across 5 seasons. It starred Bill Bixby as Dr. David Banner and Lou Ferrigno as Hulk. Furthermore, vocal effects for the Hulk are provided by Ted Cassidy, with Charles Napier replacing him after Cassidy's death. The series started with 2 pilot movies in 1977, titled The Incredible Hulk and The Return of the Incredible Hulk, A Death in the Family. The Season 2 premiere was also a TV movie, called The Bride of the Incredible Hulk, Married. After the cancellation of the television series in 1982, 3 television reunion movies were eventually produced. These were The Incredible Hulk Returns in 1988, The Trial of the Incredible Hulk in 1989, and The Death of the Incredible Hulk in 1990. Despite the apparent death of the Hulk in the 1990 film, another Hulk television movie was planned, Revenge of the Incredible Hulk. The sequel was cancelled because of the disappointing ratings for the death of the Incredible Hulk. Ferrigno also voiced the Hulk in the 90s animated TV series, The Incredible Hulk. Producers Avi Arad and Gail Ann Hurd began developing Hulk in 1990, the same year as the final television film based on the 1970s television series, The Death of the Incredible Hulk. They set the property up at Universal Pictures in 1992. Michael France and Stan Lee were invited into Universal's offices in 1993, with France writing the script. Universal's concept was to have the Hulk battle terrorists, an idea France disliked. John Turman, a Hulk comic book fan, was brought in to write the script in 1994, getting Lee's approval. Heavily influenced by the Tales to Astonish issues, Turman wrote 10 drafts and pitted the Hulk against General Ross, the military, and the Leader, also including Rick Jones and the atomic explosion origin from the comics, along with Brian Banner as the explanation for Bruce's inner anger. Universal had mixed feelings over Turman's script, but future screenwriters would use many elements. Hurd brought her husband, Jonathan Hensleigh, as co-producer the following year, and Universal hired Industrial Light and Magic to create the Hulk with CGI. Universal was courting France once more to write the screenplay, but changed when Joe Johnston became the director in April 1997. The studio wanted Hensleigh to rewrite the script due to his successful results in Johnston's Jumanji. Universal fired France before he wrote a single page, but gave him a buy-off. Johnston dropped out of directing in July 1997 in favor of October Sky, and Hensleigh convinced Universal to make the Hulk his directing debut. Universal brought Turman back a second time to write 2 more drafts. Zach Penn then rewrote it. His script featured a fight between the Hulk and a school of sharks, and 2 scenes he eventually used for the 2008 film. Banner realizing he cannot have sex, and triggering a transformation by falling out of a helicopter. Hensleigh rewrote from scratch, coming up with a brand new storyline featuring Bruce Banner, who before the accident that turns him into the Hulk, experiments with gamma-irradiated insect DNA on 3 convicts, transforming them into insect men that cause chaos. Filming was to start in December 1997 in Arizona for a mid-1999 release, but filming was pushed back for 4 months. Hensleigh subsequently rewrote the script with J.J. Abrams. Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski was also brought on board to rewrite, with Hensleigh still attached as director. In October 1997, Hulk had entered pre-production with the creation of prosthetic makeup and computer animation already underway. Gregory Sporletter was cast as Novak, Banner's archenemy, while Lynn Williams was cast as a convict who transforms into a combination of human, ant, and beetle. In March 1998, Universal put Hulk on hiatus due to its escalating $100 million budget and worries about Hensleigh directing his first film. $20 million was already spent on script development, computer animation, and prosthetics work. Hensleigh immediately went to rewrite the script to reduce the budget. Hensleigh found the rewriting process too complicated and resigned, saying he wasted 9 months in pre-production. It took another 8 months for France to convince Universal and the producers to let him try to write a script for the 3rd time. France was writing the script on the fast track from July to September 1999. Filming for Hulk was to start in April 2000. France stated his vision of the film was different from the other drafts, which was based on Bruce Banner and his amiable, nerdy genius incarnation in the 1960s. France cited inspiration from the 1980s Hulk stories, which introduced Brian Banner, Bruce's abusive father, who killed his mother. His script had Banner trying to create cells with regenerative capabilities to convince himself that he's not like his father. However, he has anger management issues before the Hulk is born, which makes everything worse. The "Don't make me angry" line from the 1970s television series became the dialogue that Banner's father would say before beating his son. Elements such as the Gamma Sphere, Bruce and Betty's tragic romance, and the Black Ops made it into the final film. France turned in his final drafts from late 1999 to January 2000. Michael Tolkien and David Hayter rewrote the script even after the producers' positive response to France's script. Tolkien was brought in January 2000, and Universal brought Hayter in September. Hayter's draft features the leader, Zezaz, and Absorbing Man as the villains, who are depicted as Banner's colleagues and get caught in the same accident that creates the Hulk. Director Ang Lee and his producing partner James Schamus became involved with the film on January 20th, 2001. Lee chose not to direct Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines and instead began work on the film. He was dissatisfied with Hayter's script and commissioned Schamus for a rewrite, merging Banner's father with the Absorbing Man. Lee cited influences from King Kong, Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, Beauty and the Beast, Faust, and Greek mythology to interpret the story. Schamus said he found the storyline that introduced Brian Banner, allowing Lee to write a drama that again explored father-son themes. Director Ang Lee originally wanted the Hulk to be completely naked, but to maintain a PG-13 rating, he couldn't commit to showing nudity throughout the film, instead had the Hulk's underwear ripped during the fight with the three superdogs. Schamus was still rewriting the script in October 2001. In early 2002, as filming was underway, France read all the scripts for the Writers Guild of America to determine who would get final credit. France criticized Schamus and Hayter for claiming they were aiming to make Banner a more in-depth character, saddened that they had de-integrated their work in interviews. Schamus elected to get solo credit. France, Turman, and Schamus received final credit. In December 2001, a theatrical release date for June 20th, 2003 was announced, with the title of The Hulk. Schamus admitted that he was worried about making the film after seeing Spider-Man. Eric Bana was cast in October 2001, signing for an additional 2 sequels. Ang Lee felt obliged to cast Bana upon seeing Chopper and first approached the actor in July 2001. Other actors heavily pursued the role. Bana was also in heavy contention for Ghost Rider but lost out to Nicolas Cage. It was widely reported that Billy Crudup turned down the role. Johnny Depp and Steve Buscemi were reportedly under consideration for the lead. David Duchovny and Jeff Goldblum auditioned for the role. Edward Norton, who went on to play Bruce in The Incredible Hulk, expressed interest in the role but turned it down as he was disappointed with the script. Tom Cruise was also offered the role, but he turned it down as well. Director Ang Lee attracted Jennifer Connelly to the role of Betty Ross. Sam Elliott said his performance of Thaddeus Ross was similar to his portrayal of Basil L. Plumley in We Were Soldiers. Elliott accepted the role without reading the script, being excited to work with Ang Lee and research Hulk comic books for the part. Nick Nolte agreed to participate in the film when Lee described the project as a Greek tragedy. Now, let's talk about the production. The movie was produced by Marvel Enterprises and distributed by Universal Pictures. It was directed by Ang Lee, known for directing Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The movie was written by John Turman, Michael France, and James Schamus. The movie was also produced by Gale Ann Hurd, known for producing the Terminator movies. Filming began on March 18, 2002 in Arizona and moved on April 19 to the San Francisco Bay Area. Locations included Advanced Light Source, Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, Oakland, Treasure Island Military Base, and the Sequoia Forests of Porterville, before several weeks in the Utah and California deserts. The penultimate battle scene between Hulk and his father used the real Pear Lake and Sequoia National Park as a backdrop. Filming then moved to the Universal backlot in Los Angeles, using Stage 12 for the water tank scene, and finished in the first week of August. Filming of Hulk constituted hiring 3,000 local workers, generating over $10 million in the local economy. Stan Lee, who created Hulk, and Lou Ferrigno, who portrayed the character in the 1970s series, made cameo appearances as security guards. Ang Lee also makes a cameo appearance in one scene. Michael Dana, who previously collaborated with Lee on Ride with the Devil and The Ice Storm, was set to compose the film's score before dropping out. The studio executives at Universal Pictures rejected Dana's score due to his non-traditional approach and because it did not suit the film's tone. His score consisted of Japanese taiko, African drumming, and Arabic singing. Universal's president of film music, Kathy Nelson, later contacted composer Danny Elfman, who was then hired through a telephonic conversation, indicating his involvement in the film. Since Elfman was a fan of Lee's works and has also scored for the superhero films Batman, Batman Returns, and Spider-Man, he agreed to it and eventually flew to Los Angeles, where he visited Lee at Industrial Light and Magic Studio, where the film was in post-production. With 37 days to compose over 2 hours of music, Elfman agreed out of respect for Lee. While instructing to retain much of the character of Dana's score, Lee pushed Elfman to write material that did not sound like his previous superhero scores. Dana's initial score had an ethereal world music element, which Elfman deciphered as beautiful, but felt that it somehow did not suit the film's tone. Elfman's involvement was confirmed nearly 3 months ahead of the film's release. The soundtrack album was released on June 17, 2003 by Decca Records. The album features Elfman's score as well as the song Set Me Free by Velvet Revolver, which plays during the end credits. Lee told Bana that he was shooting a Greek tragedy and that he would be making a whole other movie about the Hulk at Industrial Light and Magic. An example of Lee's art house approach to the film was taking Bana to watch a bare-knuckle boxing match. Bana would later disfavorably reflect on his experience making the film, as the majority of the time he was working indoors while the rest of the cast interacted with the CGI recreation of the Hulk, somewhat limiting his screen time. Computer animation supervisor Dennis Murin was on set every day. One of the many visual images that presented an acting challenge for Bana was Lee's split-screen technique to mimic comic book panels cinematically. The technique required many more takes of individual scenes than usual. Murin and other ILM animators utilized previous technology originally used for the Dobby character from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets to create the Hulk with computer-generated imagery. Additional software included Power Animator, Stop Image 3D, Stop Image XSI, and Pixar's RenderMan. ILM started computer animation work in 2001 and completed it in May 2003, just 1 month before the film's release. Lee provided some motion capture work in post-production. Gary Wrightstorm handled sound design at Skywalker Sound. A 70-second teaser trailer debuted in theaters with the release of Spider-Man on May 3, 2002. This trailer was later attached to the home video releases of The Scorpion King. Universal Pictures spent $2.1 million to market the film in a 30-second television spot during Super Bowl 37 on January 26, 2003, which featured the song We Love You. A new trailer would premiere on February 14, 2003, in front of Daredevil screenings. Another trailer debuted on May 2, 2003, with the opening of X2. Just weeks before the film's release, several work prints leaked on the internet. Universal launched an investigation for who was responsible for the leak. The public already criticized the story, the visuals, and special effects, although it was not the film's final editing cut. For the promotional campaign, Universal hired Nabisco, post-consumer brands, Pepsi, Hershey's, Kraft Foods, Conagra Brands, Glad, and Snack Foods Limited. Hulk was released on June 20, 2003, grossing $24.3 million during its opening day. On its second day of release, it made $21.3 million. The film then earned $62.1 million in its opening weekend, which made it the 16th highest ever opener at the time. It managed to top the box office opening, beating out Finding Nemo. Moreover, it surpassed Austin Powers' The Spy Who Shagged Me to score the biggest June opening weekend. That record would last until 2004, when it was surpassed by Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Hulk went on to score the 4th highest opening weekend for a Universal film, behind The Lost World Jurassic Park, The Mummy Returns, and Bruce Almighty. It also achieved the 5th highest opening weekend for a 2003 film, trailing only behind the latter film, Finding Nemo, X2, and The Matrix Reloaded. Also, the film joined Too Fast, Too Furious and Bruce Almighty to become one of 3 Universal films to make $50 million opening weekends. With a second weekend drop of 70%, it was the first opener above $20 million to drop over 65%. At the time, the film had the second highest second weekend decline of any superhero film, behind Steel. It eventually made $18.8 million during its second weekend, ranking in second place below Charlie's Angels' Full Throttle. The film grossed $132.2 million in North America on a budget of $137 million. It made $113.2 million in foreign countries, coming to a worldwide total of $245.4 million. With a final North American gross of $132.2 million, it became the largest opener not to earn $150 million. Internationally, Hulk had box office runs in several countries. It made $3.1 million from 5 Asian countries during its opening weekend, scoring a Hong Kong opening of $700,000 while doubling Gladiator. It grossed $122,000 in Malaysia, making it the country's second highest opening for a Universal film, after The Lost World Jurassic Park. In the UK, the film had made $5.6 million during its opening weekend, combined with $2.1 million from previews. In Mexico, Hulk became Universal's biggest opening in the country, generating $4.6 million and surpassing Jurassic Park 3. In total, the international grosses include Argentina with $1.2 million, Australia with $6.4, France with $9.6, Germany with $4.1, Italy with $8, Japan with $7.6, Mexico with $11.6, South Korea with $2.5, Spain with $7.7, Taiwan with $3.7, and the United Kingdom with $13.9 million. It had a budget of $137 million and made $245.3 million at the box office. It currently has a 63% critic score and a 29% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, a 5.7 out of 10 on IMDb, and a 54 Metacritic score. Upon opening, Hulk received mixed reviews from critics, with reviewers praising the cast's performances and Lee's directing, but criticizing the slow pace and length. It has since received retrospective praise for its departure from conventional comic book film tropes, and the film has gained a significant cult following in the years since its initial release. The film received a novelization written by Hulk comic book writer Peter David. A tie-in video game was developed by Radical Entertainment and released by Vivendi Universal Games on May 28, 2003. It features a narrative that acts as a sequel to the film. In March 2002, during filming for Hulk, producer A.V. Arad targeted a May 2005 theatrical release date for a sequel. Upon the film's release, screenwriter James Schamus started to plan a sequel featuring Hulk's Grey Hulk persona and considered using the Leader and the Abomination as villains. Marvel asked for Abomination's inclusion to be an actual threat to Hulk, unlike General Ross. Schamus envisioned the sequel to take place on a Native American reservation and stated it was very radioactive and very political. He would later walk away from the project. The project ultimately never launched due to Universal's failure to meet the 2004 deadline to begin filming. On January 18, 2006, Arad confirmed Marvel Studios would be providing the money for the Incredible Hulk's production budget, with Universal distributing, because Universal did not meet the deadline for filming a sequel. Marvel felt it would be better to deviate from Ang Lee's style to continue the franchise, arguing his film was like a parallel universe one-shot comic book. Producer Gail Ann Hurd also felt the film had to meet what everyone expects to see from having read the comics and seen the TV series. After the mixed reception of Hulk, Marvel Studios reacquired the film rights to the character, and writer Zach Penn began working on a sequel titled The Incredible Hulk. However, Edward Norton rewrote Penn's script after signing on to star, retelling the origin story in flashbacks and revelations to establish the film as a reboot. Director Louis Lederer agreed with this approach. Lederer acknowledged that the only remaining similarity between the two films was Bruce hiding in South America. Jennifer Connelly, who played Betty Ross, would go on to voice Karen in Spider-Man Homecoming. Sam Elliott, who played Thaddeus Ross, would go on to play Caretaker in Ghost Rider. Hulk would get a new adaptation in the MCU 5 years later in 2008, titled The Incredible Hulk. With that being said, thanks for watching. Next time we'll be talking about The Punisher from 2004. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to see more, consider giving a like or rating and subscribing with notifications so you never miss an episode. It's free. Also feel free to check out our other episodes and share this podcast with others on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time on Movie Rewind.